here at beautiful Bali Rica in beautiful Costa Rica on a lovely start of our summer weather, which is the winter here or whatever. I get them confused. No, it's the winter there and summer here now. And we got a couple more people coming in. I don't know if they're newcomers or not. No, they're not newcomers.
My mother, Patty.
Hi. Our good friend and participant Brad is giving the talk today, and he's going to do his opening meditation as well. So with no further ado, I give you Brad.
Bienvenido, welcome. I so appreciate these opportunities, mostly because I get so much out of sitting here. I get a lot out of the time leading up to sitting here and thinking about these concepts and ideas and distilling down to a format that I can communicate in hopefully a memorable way. And today's talk, I specifically requested from Jeff if I could speak on happiness, because it was something that has been really top of mind for me for a while. And then Ruthie asked me if I could also incorporate that into an excerpt from the Dhammapada, which they refer to joy. And I just wanted to mention that to preface the meditation so that we can have a little bit of synchronicity and what the focus is for the meditation. And with that, what I'd really love to invite everyone into is a meditation on presence, because I feel that presence is a really supporting element of happiness. So find a comfortable position. If that's sitting, if that's laying down. I would encourage everyone to find a way to just have your spine and your neck straight, provide a clear channel. The invitation is to either soften your gaze or even close your eyes, whichever feels most safe and supporting. And just in your own time, just find a way to a nice deep inhalation through your nose, holding at the top, and then gently out through your mouth in your own time. Another deep breath in. And one more. Something really supportive for me that I often use in my practice is to remind myself that there is a time for thinking. A time is available to me another time. There's a time for movement. A time is also available to me. At this time, at this moment right now, is not that time. This time is for stillness. This time is for deep presence. Deep, deep presence with all that is. And this time is a gift for me. It's a gift for you. It's a gift for everyone around us, everyone we come in contact with. So my wish for you is to embrace, love, and give yourself space for this gift. Now in this moment, I invite you just to pause. Be the observer of your own experience. It's the only experience you can truly connect with. And in support of that, just start with your breath. Just notice without a need to change, without any judgment, without any clinging to what's supposed to be. And just draw yourself into awareness around what is happening with your breath. Is it strong and labored? Is it soft and slow, shallow? Are you trying to control it somehow? Are you able to surrender to it? Just notice. In whatever way we happen to be experiencing our breath in this moment, I invite us all to find gratitude for this incredible life-giving force that gives without asking, that is present for us without thinking about it. We can just be, and our breath is there for us. What a gift. And I'm continuing with the state of being in the observer. I invite us all to do a slow, gentle scan of our bodies, our physical bodies, starting from our crown chakra at the top of our heads, all the way down very, very slowly, cascading down the back, front, sides of our head, inviting peace and relaxation into every single cell of our physical body. Lovingly melting down the sides of our face, our jaw, feeling all our skeletal systems support us from the ground up, knowing that we are held by this precious earth. Allowing ourselves to release any tension that we may be holding in our shoulders, down our arms, our spine. Staying in the state of the observer and just being aware of what that feels like. Is this a familiar feeling? Is it supporting? Is this something new? Is there something new we're experiencing in our body? Whatever it is that you are feeling right now is. And the more we accept what is, we welcome everything, the connected and present we can be. I'm going to invite you to expand outward just a little bit, because we are all completely interconnected and interwoven with everything around us. So I invite you to allow the illusion of separation to dissolve by allowing yourself to feel connected to the sounds of the wind, the sounds of the wildlife, and the trees rustling, feeling the sensation of air cascading around your skin. Feeling the beauty and warmth of these beautiful beings that are surrounding you right now. And just sit with the idea that this moment, right here, right now, is truly all we have. And we have choice over our perception and our experience of this moment. I invite you to choose how you want this moment to be for yourself. And then just be. And in a moment, I invite us all to take another 3 deep breaths as we gently and lovingly come back into this space with each other, gently opening our eyes in our own timing when it feels good, coming back into visual connection with each other. Starting now. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Okay.
So, and please feel free to come back in your own timing, whatever feels good.
Just to be sure that I can hear.
Yeah, can everybody hear me okay? Okay. Thank you.
I get to be the only one.
I'll just snuggle in.
I know what you're doing.
meditation was particularly important to me for today. Again, the talk that I've been exploring is around happiness and joy. And in my exploration of that and my curiosity around this, not surprisingly, I haven't figured it out. You know, the thing that human beings have been striving to sort out for as long as human beings have existed, I didn't figure it out in the last few weeks, not surprisingly. But I did learn a lot about my experience of happiness. I learned a lot about curiosity around happiness. And one of the core foundational supporting elements of happiness in my experience in this exploration of many is deep presence. And I'm going to explore a few different aspects of this topic. There is a point that I'm going to relate to the Dhammapada.
I trust you.
A brief point, but it's there.
It's all Dhamma.
It's all Dhammapada, you're right. So one of the first curiosities that I had, in a lot of the talks that I've given before, I like to explore the other side of a coin, right? So in order to express an understanding of something, I like to understand the opposite, the other side of things. Maybe it's not a direct opposite, but it's sort of a counterpoint. Something that we talk about a lot in this group is the idea that pain is inevitable and suffering is an option. And I took some time to explore what I feel is the other side of that coin in relation to happiness. In that suffering is a choice. I believe happiness is a choice. So what is the equal part to pain, whereas pain is inevitable and suffering is an option? What is that to the option of happiness? What I came up with is something else that is outside of our control, and that is omnipresent, that is a constant, and is foundational, which is light. So what I have come up with as a counterpart to pain being inevitable and suffering being an option is that light is ever present, but happiness is a choice. And I want to say that again and just let that sit for a minute, because that's a lot of what I'm going to explore today and how I got there. So if pain is inevitable and suffering is optional, then light is ever present and happiness is a choice. Here's where I touch on the Dhammapada.
Very good. As I say, it's all Dhammapada.
It's all Dhammapada. So in the Dhammapada, they speak on joy. Are joy and happiness perfectly synonymous? Probably not. For the sake of this talk, I'm using them sort of interchangeably. And so in the Dhammapada, the first 4 statements are live in joy, in love, are the first 2 lines. Live in joy, in health. Live in joy, in peace. And live in joy without possession, or the positive of that, in non-attachment. Right? The common element in all of these, for me, is probably one of the least powerful words on its face became the most powerful for me, which is the word in. In. Live in joy, in love, in health, in peace, in non-attachment, or without possession. And for me, that word in is the key to all of this. In, to me, is the expression of active presence, which to me is everything. I've given thought to our lives here in Costa Rica. We have friends back in, did you say you were from Sweden? Switzerland? Forgive me. We have friends and family in Switzerland. We have friends and family in Canada, in the US, all over the world. And I feel like something that is a common conversation for us is where we talk about how we relate to people back where we came from, where we talk about the reasons why we left those places. And I started thinking about those conversations that I've had a million times. I know you've had a million times with friends and family, and I've discovered that there is a tangible difference here. There is something here that is more supportive of happiness than where we came from. What is that? Well, I look at the state of first world countries right now, and they're in constant pursuit of ease and comfort, automation, self-driving vehicles. We don't even have to be present when we're driving a vehicle that we could die from. We don't have to be present with that anymore. We've heard of the concept of being in autopilot, right? It feels to me like the framework for life in first world countries, in those areas, it could be anywhere, but it's more prominent there. It seems to me like the framework is an evolution of absence, of stepping away from presence slowly over time. We're building comfort, we're building things that are automated because we feel like that is going to make our lives better.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect. We don't even have to have our hands on the wheel. It's just going to get us where we need to be. Everything's great.
Terrifying.
It is terrifying.
Yeah.
And I feel like that framework completely misses the point. When we are living in a place like the Pacific rainforest, we don't have the boiling frog. We don't have the thing that is subtle under the surface that is killing us over time. We have a terciopelo right in front of us. We have a landslide that we're trying to skirt around without falling off a cliff. That's scary. It's challenging. It's intimidating. It's life-threatening in a lot of cases. And what a gift. Because what that does for us is it guides us. It damn near forces us into a hyper state of presence. I'm sure a lot of you have your own story around your experience of moving here and how that changed your life. I've heard so many people's stories. I have my own story. I truly believe that living in this place, surrounded by things that could kill me, and I've tested it. Believe me, I know a lot of you know how I've tested that. I truly believe that that is what has saved my life. Truly. That's how important I feel presence is to all of these things: love, health, peace, non-attachment, in support of joy or happiness. I want to mention some of the qualities of happiness and the antithesis of happiness, which is absence, to me. This is all my experience as well. You know, this is an exploration for me. This is a curiosity. And I actually, the more I got into this, the more I was like, oh, I feel like I need to live 100 lives of exploration in this before I'm really going to understand it. And so part of this journey of exploring happiness was really beautiful, and part of it was like, whew, I got a long way to go. I got a mountain in front of me, and this is going to be a thing. So this is my experience, and certainly this is open to interpretation. And I also want to mention that key aspects of happiness is that happiness lives in the heart, whereas suffering, to me, lives in the mind. So that's an important delineation for me, to understand that happiness is in, as the Lama says, the heart is the home, and the mind is just an office room in the home. And so to me, happiness is a felt sense. And I think that's important to share. So the qualities that I see around presence and absence. Presence to me is aware. Presence to me is being in that state that we were just in meditation, of being the observer. Presence is being connected. If you're in conversation with somebody, I feel like even here, a lot of our conversations with people, we're looking elsewhere, or we're waiting for the opportunity to come in and say something. But I've had the great joy and privilege of being able to practice authentic relating in held spaces, and just being able to sit in presence and eye gaze with somebody and just hold space while they express themselves and be connected with somebody very deeply like that is such a gift. It's an act of active presence. Presence is peaceful. Presence is conscious, and it's mindful. And then the antithesis of presence, which is to me is absence. It's being absent-minded, having a restless mind. Again, a lot of this is the suffering in the mind, sufferings of the mind. Distracted mind, racing thoughts, being on autopilot or mindlessness. These are all things I'm sure we've all experienced at some point or another, and I doubt that any of these qualities have ever brought us joy. But I am quite certain, I'm quite confident that if we practice these qualities of awareness and observing, connectedness, peace, consciousness, and mindfulness, that will most definitely support us on our path towards joy and happiness. The Dalai Lama wrote a book, I'm sure most of us are aware of, called The Art of Happiness.
It's the very first book I think that he published in this country.
I was thinking about that, and I really wanted to focus on the word art, because I don't think it was happenstance that he used that word. And I know that I've talked about this concept of where I used to feel like the world was black and white, there was right and wrong, and I have gently come into an understanding that it's not about right or wrong for me, it's about skillful virtuousness. It's about understanding and cultivating and learning how to be in different states of virtue, which there are many, cultivating our grasp on these different virtues, and not just learning them and understanding them, but being able to use them like a paintbrush in any given situation. Use them artfully. Be masterful with how we wield virtues. That's what this sword is for. It's my sword of virtue. It's supported by the Dharma. And I feel like in that same sense, that it's not about right or wrong, it's about being skillfully virtuous. I feel like happiness is another extension of that art, of that painting. It's about understanding the concepts that support happiness and then being able to apply them and connect with them in any given situation. Make your current present moment artful and masterful. Choose how you want this experience to be in this moment, and then make space for it. So we can't make a beautiful painting if our canvas is all cluttered and isn't clean and clear and all that kind of stuff. So we want to make space for happiness to come in. I want to circle back on this concept that light is ever present and happiness is a choice, and I want to talk about light a little bit. What is light? Light is physical, light is literal, light is metaphorical, right? And I feel like all of the physical and metaphorical characteristics of light are all interchangeable. It feels like they're interchangeable. Light is illuminating visually, it's illuminating spiritually, it's illuminating intellectually. I feel like light is something that is a catalyst, much like pain is a catalyst. That's why that's sort of the counterpoint to that for me. They're both a catalyzing feature. And for me, light catalyzes beauty. You know, visually, spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, it allows us to bring into awareness beauty in things, in all things. You can find beauty in sadness. You can find happiness in sadness. You know.
Can't get one without the other.
Yeah. Two sides of the same coin. Light supports awareness, and it is our experience of truth. I want to return to the core foundational idea of happiness being a choice. An example, a very clear example that encompasses both literal physical light as well as metaphorical light is the light that we feel from a sunrise. We can have one person that is experiencing, we can have two people experiencing the exact same sunrise, and we can have one person who chooses to connect with the light that is catalyzing happiness in that moment. And we can have someone else who is unaware, who's disconnected, and who doesn't experience any happiness from that exact same event that is bringing so much joy to the person right beside them. It is a choice. And happiness, unlike light, light is ever present. Happiness needs our presence and connection in order to be realized. I've talked about in the past about this precious human life and how we are an expression of the universe that gets to reflect on itself. But we are also necessary. We are absolutely necessary in order for happiness to exist. Happiness doesn't exist without us. It doesn't exist without our choice to connect with it. Light exists. Happiness is a product of a choice we make in connecting with light. I want to leave us with a quote. It's not a Buddhist quote. It's it's.
It might be.
Okay, it might be. It is now.
Okay.
You all are. I'm all over them all the time.
I love this quote because it's very simple. It felt inspiring and uplifting to me. It was a catalyst for me to experience happiness when I read it. And so I want to share this with you. It's a Maori proverb that says, "Turn your face to the sun and the shadows will fall behind you."
Mm-hmm.
this turning our face to the sun is a choice. I wanted to open up to any thoughts, any questions. I had zero idea on timing. I kind of went into it.
I think that was just
Thank
good.
you,
We're
Frank.
still about 10 too, so it's good. And it's 10 for questions.
Wonderful. Yeah, does anybody have any thoughts?
Ideas, thoughts, questions.
Can you yell at me?
Speak up. Speak up.
I know why Brad is such an amazing photographer. Because this whole talk about light, you could just see him lighting up. You know? Very thoughtfully explaining stuff, but you could see when stuff was hit. And
Yeah.
light particularly is beautiful.
Thank you.
And your work is beautiful. I noticed it.
Mm.
It's nice to
It's very sweet. Thank you.
Someone else?
I find the topic of happiness an interesting topic because you gave a really good talk, so I don't want to start on your face. You gave a really good talk, so I'm being very aware of the words that I'm choosing. For me, happiness is a hard word to describe. And in my 20s, I was doing studies on that, and I came across Dr. Hanley, a Canadian psychologist from the 1930s. And while everybody else was coming up with euphoria and stress and all of these words in their symposiums in Europe, he gave a talk on something called eustress, which was a combination of euphoria and stress. And he says you cannot have euphoria without stress, was his premise. And he said, you know, to establish happiness in life, there has to be some form of resistance, something that challenges your thoughts. And in so doing, when you make peace with it, you establish some form of happiness. And so when you said about being in the jungle and feeling the snakes and the bitey things, or a landslide connects you with a sense of being alive, that makes sense to me. That really makes sense. But in that time that I was doing those studies, I also came across people that were in the military, and why somebody would go into a battle environment, leave, and return to and go back maybe 2 or 3 times. And the problem was when they left a battle environment and they went back to their homes, you'd think that they would find peace, they would find tranquility, and what they found was boredom. They realized that when they were in conflict, the challenges they were facing made them more alive. They were more in the second, in the moment, and everything, the smell, a scent, a movement, a leaf, this was a matter of life and death. And when they go back to what they thought was peace, it was boring, and everybody was asleep. And so they didn't want to go back to those environments because of the horror that exists inside of it. But they went back because they wanted to be alive. And one might say that they were even happy. And so that was confusing for me, what is happiness? But I think what you've touched on here is, I love the concept of light and how light expresses itself through everything. And I believe light is a truth. It's an unquestioning truth. And perhaps that's the guidance. You know, when, as you put it, when we connect with that light, it guides us to a better choice. We don't necessarily need to challenge ourselves to such a degree that we end up doing things that aren't good. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I agree with all of that. Happiness is, the one thing that, when we talk about ignorance, ignorance is not knowing. I used to feel that the more you know you don't know. And so the older I get and the more I travel down a path, the more ignorant I become, or the more awareness there is around the ignorance that I have. And I feel like in this exploration of happiness, I walked into it with like a couple of doors, and now there's like a coliseum of doors. You know, it's like, oh goodness, this is overwhelming. And it's very complex and it's convoluted, and there are things in there that feel contradictory, but that occupy the same space and support the same idea. You know, like happiness is a state of being, happiness is presence, happiness is it's not a passive endeavor, but it feels like it's a surrender. Those two things feel polarizing a little bit, or dichotomy.
One small note, which is a different tack. You mentioned things being an art. And the Zen tradition, most of us know what an enzo is. It's the circle that they make with the brush. And it has an opening somewhere. This is a Japanese form of expression that there is no beginning, there is no ending, there is no after, there is no before, there is no side one of a coin and side two of a coin. You can't find the middle or one side or the other in the circle. And to break the circle of life and death and happiness and unhappiness, the two sides. When we hit nirvana, you hit that open space, which you came in there and you're going to go out there. But at that point in time, this is an expression of happiness and also of the person. But it's an art form to express choice, life, no beginning, no ending, no after, no before, holding close, releasing to be free, all the paradox that goes into our everyday living of life. So next time you see that, and think about, this is where you are. You're on this big cycle, and somewhere in there you have a moments of enlightenment. But you don't know where suffering is and unhappiness is. Your choice is wherever you want it, and that's the choice. So which way you go? Anyway, just the art thing reminded me of that.
Yeah, thank you. It's good.
Next time you see one of those big black circles.
Oh yeah, I love that analogy because it brings like an organic element to this. You know, it's not an intellectual pursuit.
That's right.
Right?
It's empty of paradox. Is what happens when you take that black brush, which is empty of color, do it around like that, and where it stops, nobody knows. But somehow or other, your hand always stops and leaves an opening. And it's a traditional art form of spiritual expression, which is kind of interesting. It's time to see. Because all of that is represented in that bit of art.
Thank you.
This was a wonderful talk.
It really was.
Yeah.
Very illuminating. Very light.
Someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, Tim.
Riffing a little on what Mark was saying about the kind of needing something to work against so that we can recognize our happiness. For me, it's been about realizing problems are key to happiness. The resilience gained, the trust in oneself that we're going to get through this despite whatever's going on. And I do a prayer every day where I thank the universe for everything, especially the problems. Because even here, for instance, living here with no seasons, you can get sick of sunny days. You can get a little sick of beautiful, perfect days, like 9 months of it, and you need a contrast, or a rainy day, or just to really want the sun to come back, right? Maybe not 4 weeks in November.
Maybe not a flood, but
Right.
You have to take time.
I missed that.
it's perfect.
Maybe we don't need 4 weeks of rain every November, but just a couple
I got it.
Yeah, just the trick though is to be aware that the beauty of life is shown to us through problems as much as it is through successes. And in the middle of the shit, keeping that in mind so that we don't wallow. Like, why is this happening to me? And there's a trick with meditation that I do is I ask, what's the lesson in this thing that's happening for me? Why is this lesson coming for me? And just a slight mental change, and all of a sudden I'm a lot happier.
Thank you.
That raises an interesting point. What you say, Alice, is maybe we're not meant to be happy all the time. And maybe you can't figure it out when you're happy. You just have to enjoy when you feel happy. And just be grateful for that. Because if you try to replicate it, you can't. So there's always a wild card that's interrupting you or getting in the way or causing problems and so on. And if you agree with that premise, I mean, what does that tell you about Buddhism? That if this is the ultimate pursuit is happiness, and you can't achieve it all the time.
Well,
I
I wonder, John, if I want to just, I don't want to debate that idea, but I wonder if we often view happiness as circumstantial.
The catalyst.
And the happiness that the Buddhists talk about and
That's his word,
is something
yeah.
that is non-circumstantial. Like no matter what, we train ourselves in happiness so that no matter what the external circumstances are, we can be joyful, happy, and those things. That's where this gets tricky, because we're all trained in that if something good happens, I'm happy, and something bad happens, I'm unhappy. Well,
That's not the middle way.
no, it isn't. That's so. I don't know. How
In a
does that
circle,
fit
there
for
is no middle.
John? With what you're saying, how does that fit? Does it?
Yeah. Feeling happiness, whatever the cause, conditions. If we know that state of mind, we can tackle problems a lot easier. We have this sense of happiness within us, happy spirit, as you know. It's not always felt. It's not always there. The more you practice it, the better able you are to deal with things that arise that cause you stress. So
Absolutely.
that's
Yep.
and maybe that's enough.
Absolutely.
You're able to survive those things easier as you have experienced happiness. And to analyze it sort of tends to make you unhappy. Trying to figure it out, to me, I don't know whether I can.
You just have to let it be.
Yeah.
Figure it out analytically
Yeah.
and stay out of your mind at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Get out of
it's
your
very
mind,
complicated.
Get out of your mind. Yeah.
Well, impermanence plays a part here too.
Mhm.
What arises will subside. So, if you're on a circle and there's no real middle way, you don't know where it is. But if you're unhappy, if you exert some patience, it will subside and the other will have room to come in. I don't know if that makes any sense. or not,
That's
but-
exactly how I
but-
felt yesterday when I was in the bank.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Exactly. We feel it a lot.
Right on the I don't know what part of your talk, but a quote that we've used a little bit here came to mind, and that was, I forget who did this now, but a wise person, could have been the Dalai Lama, it could have been Ram Dass, I don't know, asked they asked the question, where does suffering come from? And the very simple answer was, and why do people suffer? And the answer was because they're lost in thought. And so as you were talking, it really again came back to the idea that if you are fully present in the moment and work away from being lost
Very
in your
much.
thoughts, now it just I like this word. It magically appears to you. Like happiness just
Effortlessly.
comes to you. Like if you sit at a sunrise.
Exactly.
If you sit at a sunrise and you're not thinking about what you have to do that day or who texted me overnight, you know, my phone's always there waiting for me to be distracted again and lost in that stuff. And so if I just sit there and turn off the sound so it's not beeping at me, so I'm not, you know, called to be distracted, you know, from it, then the sunrise is magic to me. Sandy posts these pictures all the time. I'm just like, how more beautiful could it be? You know, and those things, and I can tell that you're absorbed in it.
Totally absorbed.
Yeah, that's where happiness comes naturally.
I feel with that as well, it's important to note that there are false happiness or false light presenting catalysts,
Oh.
right? So
Like what?
when you were talking about your phone,
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling happy
lights
right
up.
now. It's illuminating. I'm feeling
Well, that's
joy.
addictive. That's
I'm feeling a
addictive to
catalyst
that.
that is like, this is something I want or I crave, or a drug or an alcohol, or there are false light presenting catalysts out there. So this is where this art form comes in. This is where it's important to be masterful and skillful around these things and understand that I might get a hit of dopamine from checking my phone. I know that I'm going to suffer from that activity. That's actually a catalyst that is going to present me with suffering, right? And then I choose that, you know, or I don't.
I've had to train my children because obviously I'm with a new generation, and they're like, "Mom, I texted you half an hour ago. You haven't responded." And I'm like, "Whoa!" And it's taken a long time for them to comprehend, because I was always the get ready, you know, I was always the one pushing the family and over organizing and whatever. And they're like, "What's wrong with you?" Literally, they said to me, "What's wrong with you?" And so we've kind of, four boys, and so messages come in, and I can prioritize them, absolutely. But if it's not, the house is on fire, and I'm in the middle of enjoying the moment, I'm not going to talk to you. And some people are not very, they make you feel bad, or they try to guilt trip you. I've had to work to not be defensive. About, well, I was doing this, this, and this, and I didn't get you.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was important. It's important, as important as the time frame and respond and say, respond in 5 minutes, and I will. Otherwise,
The world is not going in the way of happiness.
right, that's what his point was.
It's going in the other direction, and so our job is to work the other current, the undercurrent. You know, and that's what
Well
what
put.
will make a difference in the world.
I love this, self-love and Tesla.
Yes. That we're talking about with dualism and non-dualism.
Yeah.
But the worldly part of things is very abrasive and difficult. But you go inside and you can find that place.
But it is also a wonderful world. I
Yes,
love
it
that
is.
song. It really is. If you notice, it's wonderful.
You notice.
Everything is here. All the suffering you want is everywhere. All the
Don't you know
happiness you want
people who
is
like to suffer?
everywhere.
I've met so many people who don't try to take their suffering away from them. No. They're stuck in their suffering, you know.
Take it away from us.
They're just better to kind of wander off. And they do that. My friends should have been wandering off.
I'm gonna leave you to your
Slavery.
suffering. I'll just leave you to your suffering.
Don't add to it.
Don't
Right.
add to it.
Right.
Don't add to the suffering.
Somebody else, some other comments. We're doing good with time. Actually, it's still 5 minutes to 11. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to thank you for your talk, and I wanted to say that, you know, when
PTSD
Yes,
rampant.
exactly,
Right.
exactly. But you know, we're the ones that are blessed that we can come here as a community and grow and learn and be reminded, you know, that peace does surround us and it is within us, and there still is suffering, but we can choose to take it on our own, but to get back.
Beautiful.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you. That's great.
I want to say thank you, Pat. I loved your talk.
Oh, thank you.
Very deep and inspirational. And I was thinking what I do every day now since I'm here. And I noticed myself to use all my senses so much I can in every moment. And so we're talking happiness, so it's hard to describe, and then we are suffering and problems, and then happiness goes away. And I was just thinking, you know, just look at the yellow green with my eyes and the yellow green leaves here. Would I have no eyes? I could not see it. So this should make me happy that I still can see it. When I touch something, but I went to this weaving workshop, this banana board, and I had to touch it. I said, wow, this is amazing that my little fingers can take all these little things from a banana leaf, while I look every day on the bananas and think it's nothing special. It's special, but not so special. And so I notice in myself that I'm more thankful that all my senses work every day, because I could be blind or my whatever. And then the little happiness is not so big, oh, I'm so happy. No, everybody has to cope with problems and other things, but the little tiny bits of happiness, and I see it like a puzzle. You know, you have a puzzle with big ugly pieces, and then you have a little puzzle pieces which just fit in this big life puzzle, and this is brilliant and bright, and you look at it and it makes you happy in the moment. So for me, I taught it in my workshops, you have a different view, and always our life is a big puzzle, and in the end, what he said, everything fits together anyway, but you have to see the little pieces.
I'd like to make one slight addition or nuance around that, and I just want to express that there isn't anything that can make us happy. There are catalysts that can support us in choosing to connect with happiness, but just in the way that another person can't make us angry, someone else can't make us feel guilty, nothing externally has the innate power to do anything to us at all, as far as our experience of things go. Everything is a choice.
I can open my heart. This was my point.
Yeah, it can be the
moment,
catalyst,
right?
for
When
sure.
it comes from inside,
Yeah.
and everything is closed, nothing. But when the heart is open, then really this is from inside, the enjoyment, the happiness. This I wanted to say.
I'm glad that you're connecting with that. Thank you.
Natalie, you're gonna talk? No?
I want to give a commercial for the Tico culture about this topic. Again, voted the happiest people on the planet in the latest survey. They were off it for a while. I don't know what happened to them. but you know, it depends on who's doing the survey. And I'm really intrigued by that, and I really feel like often us as expats miss. We see the magic that is our surroundings, sunsets and flowers and toucans and all of that stuff. And yet right in our midst are people who have a better handle on this than us. And so to interact with them and not just, this is one of the Happiness Project things, so I'm not doing a commercial for the Happiness Project, I'm just doing this myself. I let them influence me, and I'm happier. And so I just want to give that commercial because we're all expats sitting here, you know, in the room, and that's like a resource, you know, that's really available to us because we can tap into what they've figured out. Yeah, Sheila.
How do you let them influence you?
By spending
what?
time with them.
Oh, what? I didn't
By
know.
spending time with them.
How do you let them influence you?
By actually, when I'm working with the guys now who are like doing the gate this morning, as we're talking on the translator phone because I'm not good enough to get the details right. When they talk back, I look them directly in the eye. I see them not as a worker, but I see them as a Tico that can influence me. They're perfectly happy doing this job in this moment, content, satisfied, and I'd be like, when do I get done? You know, or you know, and so I think it's exposure. I hope that I'm accurate with that, and I think we miss some of it if we don't.
Do they also have that sense of community?
Yeah.
Where I've seen it here, a tree falls on the road, they think nothing, they always have their machete with them, boom, 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 they clean it up, it's not for any other reason, it's because it's there, they do it, it's for everyone.
There's
And that-
consideration
that
of
part-
other people.
Yeah,
It's the
part of
cleanest
stuff
country I've ever been in.
everybody comes out.
Yeah, you feel it, it fully,
It fits with the idea that we talk about often that we are not separate. We are one. If we view ourselves as one with the people of this country, who really we came second, if we view that, all of a sudden we see some very interesting nuances of beauty that's beyond sunsets and those things.
Yeah, and also just to say, having lived in other countries, that was a notable difference for Mackinacs' decision to settle here. Is as the other cultures can be beautiful, and there's beautiful things about that, but this was the first place that we felt that there wasn't that division, that it wasn't them and us. There is kind of a them and us. They're kind of, progressed in a way. But there wasn't that division. There wasn't that animosity and they were just loving, accepting people. That's been our experience.
In 2021, the World Health Organization, they do these studies all over, and for 2021 they said that Costa Rica had a surge of 71% of hate speech on social media in 2020, and 21%, or sorry, 71%, and I don't think it was the Ticos.
They could have come along for the ride, but we might be the leaders.
That you can't have a big surge like that unless it's coming from somewhere else. And I think it's to today's talk, it's
Well,
just a
the hate
reminder
speech went
of
up
what
that
are we
much around the
choosing
world.
to connect to, and what are we and then what you were saying as well. We got it backwards. We're telling them the way things need to be, and they're going, well, okay, we'll just wait a couple of years. Manana.
I think hate speech went up 120% all around the world in that year, and before and after. We've been in that period, and I think a big part of it here is the atmosphere is based and expressed by having no military. There is a sense here of non-aggression, which is a background sense. It's not specified. It's just in the atmosphere of non-violence and non-aggression. While there is violence and there is aggression, but it's not in the air that we breathe.
Yeah. You just go across the border into Nicaragua, you find it immediately.
The minute you see a bus
You
stop
see it immediately.
in Nicaragua, after looking at a bus stop here, at a bus stop in Costa Rica, everybody's chatting. You may be gone half an hour, come back, they're still there, they're still chatting, everybody's happy. You go into Nicaragua and you get to a bus stop and everybody's like this. They won't look at their neighbor. It's very, very interesting cultural thing here.
It's all kind of an undercurrent, really. What you're talking about today is this is not really popular. Your talk is not a popular talk. Like
I endeavor to not be popular wherever I can.
It's good. You're succeeding. It's beautiful. but the undercurrent is the magic, and we never lose that, no matter what.
That's what I'm talking
no
about,
matter
the
who's in office, no matter whether coronavirus comes, no matter what, that it doesn't
That's what
it
I
doesn't
meant
go
by
away.
the atmosphere.
It doesn't have to go away if we choose.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what you were referring to with John. It's something that's it's around us all
It's
the time.
available. It's available.
It's not circumstantial.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
absolutely.
agree.
Somebody wanted to make a comment.
Oh, I was just concurring with the last three comments, and yeah, my experience has been while living in other countries, Buddhist countries, and studying there and teaching, and the happiness in observing and experiencing the happiness in the local people. They don't have these expectations that are so physiological and yeah, they just don't. Everything is just present and they're just really content with being alive and being a human being and with no expectation. They just do their thing and they're grateful.
Yeah. Well, expectation again is of the mind.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
it is.
understand.
It's about
Oh yeah, no, I know you do.
so-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just yeah.
I do.
I don't know if I've told you this story before, but my
Yes,
first
I am.
Tico event was with a guy who was building for us and invited me to a Saturday night party, and I went there. There's one light bulb in the middle of the room. One, no lampshade, no nothing, on a patio of dirt. And I have not seen people having as good a time. And in my family growing up, if you didn't prepare this place for 2 days so it was absolutely perfect for everybody that came, it wasn't, you didn't have a party. And so I was just like, isn't it so interesting how they're not tied to that? Yeah, that they're not tied to that. And I went away just thinking about the light bulb. I'm just, isn't that great? One light bulb, so it was dim in the corners, and stuff. And they're just having the best time. Of course, there was Imperial there, but that helped. Anyway, Brad, maybe we should do a meditation, huh?
Sounds good.
We usually
Everybody
end
ready?
with some kind of meditation and start with a meditation for those of you that are new.
Or do you want to do a meditation? So
Not when you're here. Are you crazy?
do
Come
mine.
on.
Let me choke a little bit. For those of you who are newcomers, just follow along. I'm going to say a statement and repeat it to yourself inwardly. This is a meditation, a guided meditation. It is widening the circle of compassion, widening the circle of friendship, from beginning with ourselves, outward progressively through 5 rings. And we're going to start with ourselves. So take a deep breath. Take a little stretch if you need it before we start. We have a little ways to go. Take that deep breath. Relax. Center yourself. Close your eyes or leave them slightly open. I think better closed for most people. And repeat after me to yourself. May I be well. May no harm come to me. May I live with ease. That's equanimity backwards. May I live with ease, calm and peaceful. May I be happy. Take another deep breath or two. Move on to someone's image of someone you love with all your heart. face. Smile to them. Say their name. And say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live in peace, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. Now, we smile to them again, perhaps blow them a kiss, and we move on one circle farther out to people that we don't know very well, but we're strangers, but we know each other slightly. Okay, this is a neutral person. It could be more or less of a stranger. To this person, we try to see their face, or if it's somebody we just wave to, we just wave because we see they're there. And you say to them, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. And now if you're waving, do your wave. If you're just thinking, send them a smile. And now settle a little bit into your own body. And bring to mind someone with whom you are in conflict. Someone perhaps that you simply think of as they've done me wrong, or someone, and that's slight and perhaps passing, or someone that you consider a core enemy. Breathe. Look directly at them. Don't shift your gaze. See them as who they look like without judgment. And say to this person, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. Take a deep breath, and may you be happy. Sometimes you have to wait a moment. Make sure that there is no malice lingering there. Feel free of malice, of ill will. It's a beautiful kind of emptiness to not be in a state of ill will. And now we move to our farthest place. For this we place our hands over our hearts, because now we're going from everyday worldly relationships to all relationships of all sentient beings. Not just these individual types of people that we deal with, but everybody. And we say this a little differently. We say, may all beings everywhere on this plane and all other planes be well. May all beings everywhere be safe end with these words for you new people. Up here, there's a sign. It starts "Go in peace." And we're going to say this all together, out loud, and with full intention. This is our intention. And it goes like this. Go in peace. Go making peace. Living gently. Loving mightily. And bowing to the mysteries. And gosh, it's good to see everybody again after 3 or 4 weeks of